Hey everyone, we're live, pal. You know what I just realized? Andrew and I have the same birthday month. So happy belated birthday to you, Andrew. We didn't
And when is
record last
yours?
week. Mine is this time next Tuesday. Or not this time, but
Next Tuesday.
next Tuesday. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Well, I didn't even realize we were both May babies, but yeah, that just makes this an even more fun month as I get ready to head to Vegas for Double or Nothing. Well, actually, I'm not
Yeah,
going
you're
to
going
Double
down
or
there.
Nothing, but
You're
I'll be
going to
there
everything
for
else.
everything else. Yes, the
Yeah.
F4W convention. I don't imagine there are folks who are coming sort of on a lark here at the end of, we've had a lot of time to prepare, but I do remember this has got to be over 10 years ago now. One of my really good friends who I met through the convention, he just decided to come on a lark, just decided to drive from San Jose, California to Vegas, which is like a 12-hour drive or something, and showed up. So if y'all still are on the fence, just come out, check out the website, get your tickets, and we'll be there. And I'll be there Friday. So I'm getting there Friday, late afternoon on Friday. Excited to see everybody. And if anyone listening, comes through, just come over and say hi, and we'll go find some stuff to do. There's lots of stuff to do in Vegas. Remember the last time? Remember when we went to was it the Silver Nugget? What was the hotel we went to where the Uber driver was like, "Dude, you need to take that watch off"?
Where the what did we go there for? We went there for the Q&A.
Yeah.
And Ed ran his show out of there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Uber driver saw my Rolex, and he's like, dude, put that in your fucking pocket. I went inside. Brian was wearing his watch, too, and I said, Brian, put that fucking thing in your pocket. That's what the driver told me. And he took it, he looked around, and put it right in his pocket.
Yeah, that was funny. That was
the silver nugget. Not even the golden nugget, the silver.
Yeah. Wake up, Las Vegas. This is what you're into. But, we had no problems whatsoever. So everything was good. Did you hear the news that All Out is, September 7th, they just announced. So 2 weeks after All In rather than 1 week after All In this year.
Yeah, and I got a little scoop on that. I got a little scoop ski. I don't know if it was public or not, but do you know September 6th is the final SmackDown on Fox.
Okay.
And they are going head-to-head with Collision.
Oh, actually head-to-head.
Collision and Rampage will be live on Friday night, going head-to-head against the last SmackDown.
I can't imagine Fox is necessarily going to be pumping that SmackDown very hard, being that it is the lame duck show. Yeah. And what was the news that came out a few weeks ago where they basically are pushing SmackDown to USA a few weeks early, right?
Yeah. What does that say?
Yeah, it just says that, hey man, we want our college football and we want all that other stuff.
I actually think when you look at this era of Fox, right? What 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was more of a plus for WWE than definitely Fox. WWE, and you could. I mean, SmackDown became the A show. It became the Roman Reigns show. It was throughout the entirety of that run, minus a few months here, during the pandemic and prior. It wasn't the Roman Reigns show, but once it was, man, the amount of attention that show got over Raw was something else, and WWE definitely benefited by being on Fox for that run.
I remember the very first one. Remember, it was Becky Lynch and The Rock in the ring together. I think that was the very first SmackDown.
Yeah, and Kofi got crushed, right?
Kofi got crushed. He did. He very much so did, sadly. So we're going to spend probably the first half of the show talking a little bit of business stuff because you and I haven't had a chance to talk of late. So I'm kind of interested in what you know and what you've heard about stuff. There's been a lot of business stuff that has come out of late. Mark Shapiro was at a presser the other day, or not even a press conference. It was some sort of event that he spoke at So there's some stuff that came out of there that I want to ask Andrew about. But even before then, what is your take on this sort of this last ditch effort for WBD to try and get the rights to the NBA? They failed in their attempt to maybe hope that there weren't more bidders out there, and they let the thing go to the open market, and now they're paying the price for it. But it does sound like they're trying to figure out how they can get it back. And as I said, when this thing happened, the matching rights was going to be the interesting thing, because WBD does not have an actual broadcast network that they could put their games on, which Comcast does. And if you're the NBA, I think you would rather have your games in the Sunday night football slot once football is over, rather than on cable television. You're trying to future-proof your
Aren't they not getting they're not getting A-level or B-level games, right? NBC's getting like C-level games.
I think for those Sunday nights, the NBA is going to have to deliver high-quality games. There will be some schedule switching, I'm guessing, in order, because that's what NBC is paying for, right? Like, they have to pay for that. If they're going to pay for that, if they're going to basically pay for just being in business with the NBA rather than the ratings that they're going to, like, they're not going to make their money back on that stuff. Yeah. It's really just paying for the relationship. You have to give them, how else are you going to draw on a Sunday night? You can't draw with, the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Atlanta Hawks. So you're going to have to bring some good games to the table.
I'm sorry, my dog opened the door to my studio and he came in here and just looked at the mic and just barked at it and left. He's jealous.
He's jealous of Dave's dog getting on TV.
I know. He got jealous that the dog has been getting all the attention. Now he's trying to come on the camera. Here he is somewhere. There he is. If you put it on the wide shot, you could see him here.
Hey, what is his name?
Hey, Nico.
He's
Greek. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's Greek, but he's Greek. You know what? Did you hear that the NBA is securing the rights for the NBA on NBC again?
It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to lock this door. You continue. Hang on.
All right. So I just saw today, and Charles Barkley has been making tons of jokes about he's going to have to go on LinkedIn to find a job.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Once the Western Conference Finals is over.
So I think the WBD thing is interesting, right? And this speaks volumes about the landscape of television. And I don't know if you saw this, Comcast announced today, and I know you love this stuff. So do I. I love the back end stuff of TV and media rights and technology, with streaming. They just announced that they're gonna do a $15 a month bundle for Peacock and whatever, right?
Netflix and Apple.
Peacock, Netflix. Yeah. I predicted this, and John, our producer, I don't know if anybody could hear, John has been producing all my shows, including my technology stuff that I did that catapulted my career. 10 years ago, maybe even before that, maybe 12 years ago, I predicted that within a decade, the cable companies are going to be forced to bundle streaming with their service. We're going to go back to consolidation, and it's happening. Everything is getting consolidated. This sports service between Disney, ESPN, WBD, and who else was the other one?
I think that's it. I think that's the three of them.
That's it. Okay. You know what? That's very interesting. This Peacock deal, very interesting. And this is what cable's going to become. You're going to, whatever's in your area, that's what you're going to subscribe to. And it's going to be $100 a month. And guess what? Now Netflix comes with it, and they treat them like channels. They once again are the pipe. They're not the service provider. We're seeing that change happen, and it's affecting television. This $2.5 billion a year for not even top-level NBA games on NBC says something. I think WBD, unfortunately, I don't think WBD was priced out. I think what happened was this media rights, and I think we're going to see this with everything, right? The next football media rights and the NHL one and whatever else. It's gotten so out of control to get any kind of first-run sports programming on your station and on your network where the wall's going to hit. This may be it. $2.5 billion for this. We saw NASCAR a couple years ago and what they were able to get. I can't see them doing that again. It's changing. The landscape is changing. So A lot of people look at this as a failure for WBD. I just think business has evolved, and these franchises, the NBA and the NFL are going to go to the highest bidder because they know that they're the draw. You're not drawn like WWE. This is I love this conversation because 15 years ago or 20 years ago, WWE went to Fox. You would have looked at it as, oh my God, they're going to benefit so much from this. Yeah, it's not like that with First Run Sports anymore. The wrestling is a little different, right? Because it's still very niche, but it's changing. We saw that Fox number was not 5 to 7 million people a week. It was 2.5, 3 million, not too far off what Raw could do. Mm-hmm. And it just shows you that the importance of being on a network versus being on something else doesn't really matter. The only thing that really matters is NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, they will benefit by having the NFL because they're bringing the numbers, not the network. If the NFL went to whatever station today, it really wouldn't. Here's a great question. We see what those NFL numbers are like for Thursday Night Football on Amazon, right? We know what those are. Is it that terrible? No.
No, I think
how much of a difference would it be if it was on network television? I don't know. Plus or minus maybe 10 points here and there.
I think it's just proof that if you have a product that people want to watch, they're going to find it, and they may not be happy about finding it. And really, the future of streaming, I think, is a distribution network where, let's say you have to sign up for Apple TV, not just to get some of their content, but as like the guide of all of television. It's like, oh, I want to watch this thing. And you subscribe to this service. And it's like, oh, here's the link to Peacock. If you have the app, it's just going to open. But if you don't have the app, subscribe here, and we're going to get a piece of that change. And like, I think the distribution aspect of where people are going to find this stuff is really going to be the most important thing. But so where does AEW fit here now? Because there's an argument that says if WBD does not get the NBA, it's better for AEW. And then there's an argument that says if WBD gets the NBA, it's better for AEW. Like, where do you sit in this question?
It depends on how you look at it, right? Are you looking at it as, does this free up money for AEW to get more in their TV rights if they're not spending it on the NBA? Yeah, I would think so. I would think that that's a positive for AEW because now the station, this is going to definitely affect where it ranks as far as the top stations go. We've seen properties lose their flagship, whatever sports that is, and they go from like number 5 or 6 to like number 30 in cable.
USA,
and that's a detriment.
USA's going to take a small hit with NXT and Raw off of their channel. They're replacing it with SmackDown, but SmackDown in of itself is not going to, to help in that decline.
Sure. Luckily for them, they could maybe get a little creative and have something other than a Law and Order SVU marathon all day. But they are looking to invest in other properties. We're seeing more sports go over there. I think for WBD to lose the NBA, I don't. It's definitely going to impact their ad sales for the station, for the channels altogether. Remember when they're selling this, they're selling it for 3 stuff. I mean, TNT, TBS, and True TV all have basketball.
Yeah, True TV has like the side programming, like, oh, you want the alternate broadcast, like you go to True TV.
They're selling ads for that, and the ads are high for NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs or whatever, whatever you're doing. It's going to affect the financials of the stations. I don't think this is going to affect AEW and their numbers or where they stand. There could be an argument that there's going to be way more pressure and way more need for AEW to be on that station and resources may be allocated to that to sustain those numbers because, dude, you're getting 5 hours a week of first-run programming, live sports first-run programming, 52 weeks out of the year. That's a very unique thing to get. And again, this is not a definition. This is not a defense for AEW. I'm not being an AEW apologist. I'm speaking about the landscape of television. And if you are a station and you just lost the NBA, You don't really have. I mean, essentially TNT and TBS are just Family Guy and American Dad and Big Bang Theory replay stations.
They have baseball, they have the
Yeah,
NHL, and
but
they
nobody's
have
watching
March
baseball, dude.
Madness. No,
Did you
nobody's
see what the
watching
demo
baseball.
was for the Wednesday? I think it was a Wednesday baseball game. It was like a .08.
Yeah, it's just hours of television for them right now. Like nobody is watching. Look, and there's a bigger. If this was a baseball podcast instead of a wrestling podcast, we'd be talking about the regional sports networks and Diamond Sports going bankrupt. But there's an But more to your point, now here's what I was going to follow up with, which is if you are Comcast and you are one of the main providers of cable. Now, Comcast also owns WNBC Universal, so there's like a synergy there, which may be a little bit unfair for WBD. But if you're like, hey, you don't have the NBA anymore, we're not going to pay you as much in the carriage fees negotiation. We're actually going to drop the fee that we pay you because you're not delivering the same audience, and the cable customer is not as interested in your channels without the NBA. So if they go to WBD and say that, and then like all of a sudden WBD gets paid less for all of their content, that's not good for WBD. And that ultimately I don't think is good for AEW. I am not as aware of how that part of the business works, of how those negotiations work, but we just saw we just saw some stuff with Charter and Disney, and one of the agreements that got put in place for Charter and Disney was they're able to give away Disney Plus to their customers, which takes it back to your earlier point about Comcast creating this bundle, but it all is in the Comcast ecosystem. So this is not something where you are out of cable and you can go and buy this Peacock and Netflix and Apple TV bundle. I think you have to be in their cable ecosystem. So I don't know how big of a thing it's going to be to cable. I don't think it's big at all to the cord cutters. But
I think for WBD though, when you talk about this negotiation with AEW, for this, whatever this contract is, and I can tell you that they very much want AEW there, but they also know one thing: where would they go if they don't stay on WBD? Your options are very limited now.
And look, if they're willing to play hardball with the NBA, they're absolutely going to be willing to play hardball with AEW. Now, the economics of both deals are like vastly different. What AEW is probably asking for is a slice of what the NBA was asking for, but still, like the other way you can look at it is you're like, oh, like they tried to play hardball and they may lose this thing, so maybe they're not trying to play hardball with AEW, but they understand the landscape better than us. Yeah, where would AEW go as far as what cable network is going to also pay them for their TV? Which goes back to when we would always talk about, man, Tony sure is a very nice partner. He's always putting these guys over, and that's probably Tony understanding where things were going and what the possibilities were. So that's a whole other dance that's going to be very interesting. But I think for the betterment of wrestling, we want to see them back with WBD, and we want to see them get a nice hefty increase that allows them to do business for the next several years.
So what would that number be? What do you think that number should be per year?
What is the number now? I don't even know what the number is now. We don't
know. 45 to 70 million? I don't know. I can't remember. Dave probably knows a closer number, but let's say that's the range, right? Let's say it's 45.
Let's say Dave's put success at 80. I think I've heard him say that. He's like, if they get 80, then they're good. Then they're very happy. I don't know. And does that mean 3 shows still? Does that mean library? Does that mean pay-per-views? There's a whole other aspect of it.
Rampage turning into a random third hour for these shows has not been a bad thing for Turner, has not been a bad thing for AEW.
Better than the Friday night version.
I honestly, this is how I would do this. And this is I would turn Collision. I turn Rampage into that show that they had initially wanted for Collision, and that was the, we're getting rid of Dark, we're getting rid of Elevation, we want all of the wrestling on a Turner property. Make Rampage that show, right? Keep it that way. Let people know this is more of a developmental show rather than the A show or whatever it is. Who knows what this is now? Or you take it off and you just make Collision 3 hours, or you turn Dynamite into 3 hours. I agree think with the hours watched are necessary. I don't think having a separate show is necessary.
You know what
you get what I mean? What?
People will not like this, but
tell me. I want people to lose their minds.
If we create, if we decide that ROH is a detrimental brand to pro wrestling right now, why don't we just turn ROH into the Rampage brand and have that be the complete streaming brand? And let's get the Rampage brand off of TV, because we know the Rampage brand is detrimental to AEW's brands. And do like you said, you want 3 hours of Dynamite? Let's not call anything Rampage. Let's just call it Dynamite, and let's do the 2 hours of Collision. But if Tony wants, because this is his like childhood thing that he created, this Rampage, the idea of Rampage. Like, why do we even have ROH? At this point, it's strictly for nostalgic reasons, right? Let's do the streaming product to be Rampage and get that thing off of TV.
Listen, I think I don't. Here's the other argument, right? How many shows did WWE have on TV at one point? Velocity, Superstars, Main Event, Sunday Night Heat, all these bizarre shows. Nobody was complaining about those ratings. I'm sure it didn't do great whatsoever. Maybe Sunday Night Heat did okay for a while, but what was Main Event getting? What was Velocity getting? Not much. It's fine to have content on TV. It's just another thing to sell. It's another avenue to pick up viewers. I think the bigger question is Wednesday and Saturday. I think Saturday's a terrible night. I thought you could have built it to something. I always said 650 is that healthy, really strong number to do there. Doing $500,000 is okay. I think last week was interesting. They did $500,000.
Tony's bragging about it on Twitter.
Yeah, but the demo's not great. So
he said this. I'll just read his tweet. This past Saturday, AEW Collision on TNT had the biggest audience since September of 2023. It's great news. I was wondering where the Fast Nationals were. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they do a bigger number for Collision when they came out of that NBA game? Maybe he's not counting that because it was so much of a crazy lead-in.
Yeah, wasn't it like 600,000 people?
Yeah, I thought they had like the first 20 or 40 minutes of that show was like way up, and
it was over 1 million people watching.
Yeah. So I just thought the tweet, like I understand celebrating, some wins, but that the viewership that they did on Saturday is kind of like the bottom of where you want them to be, not like the celebration point. But he's when ratings were down on Wednesday, to have them bounce back on Saturday, I guess that is a small win for him. But I don't know if I'd be baiting people to come at me like that.
Yeah, but dude, you got to look at the 6-week trend. And this is what I always tell people, like, who cares about 2-3 weeks of bad TV or 4 weeks of bad TV? 6 weeks is the real number. All the anomalies are out the window after 6 weeks. You can't argue that the NBA is on and this is on and that is on. It gives you enough time, A, to adjust to whatever you got to do to make people tune in. And B, it's enough time to figure out what's happening here.
Yes.
I don't think a 1-week victory is, you shouldn't be taking victory laps. I think, listen, I do think Tony and AEW get a insanely unfair assessment. It's at the levels of end of WCW. That's how
you think the hate is that bad?
I think the hate is that bad. I honestly, I was a forum guy at that point. I was living on the message boards, much like Tony. It was just vitriol People were championing the product to fail. And there are people that champion for this product to fail. But unfortunately, the wrestling is better than anything else that we've ever seen on North American television. Or ever. You know what? I will say the AEW wrestling, right? The wrestling as a wrestling show, the last 4 years has most likely been the most consistent, high-level wrestling that we have ever seen on television. I don't think that could be argued. I'm talking about the actual wrestling. I'm not talking about character development or anything else.
Better than the NXT takeovers from years back.
Well, NXT wasn't on TV. And NXT, I'm talking about their TV, not their pay-per-views, right? I think their pay-per-views are better than the NXT takeovers, for sure. I think the NXT takeovers were very unique for the time that they were in, the box that they were in. But if you remove Johnny Gargano and those very special matches and those feuds that we got, it's not better than AEW's pay-per-views. But I'm saying consistently on television, I don't think we've ever gotten better wrestling than this. It's one thing to like it or not. You could say I'm not into wrestling. I'm not into watching just wrestling. I want, the spookiness of The Undertaker, and I want, Stone Cold Steve Austin giving me the finger. But you can't argue that the wrestling isn't good. I think that's insane.
I would say the athleticism is excellent. The speed.
You wouldn't say it's the most. You wouldn't say it's the best wrestling we've ever had consistently on television weekly.
I think when you answer the question like that, it's sort of like, what do you want to see? And my problem with the product is that Tony seems like the booking, and this is just how I perceive the booking. He's more concerned about giving good matches that don't mean anything than anybody that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, you see these matches and it's just like they're put together and there's no stakes involved, and it's just to pacify a specific fan base. And I'm not sure that's necessarily the best thing, because what I want to see is I want to see things of importance. Like, you can add some importance to some of these matches, and then to me, they'll be like, oh, I have to see this. But when there's no importance given to the matches, I don't just watch matches for the sake of matches. I could do tons of other things that I enjoy more.
But I think there's a difference, right? You and I are very much alike in what we like. There is a portion of that AEW, a majority, I would say, of the AEW audience that wants to watch great wrestling matches. That's what matters to them. They see the match, they go on Twitter, and they talk about how great the match was.
Yep.
Then there's a WWE audience, a WWE fan, that doesn't give two craps about the match, and all they want is character development, and they want an entrance. And again, no knock. I think the formula has to be balanced. But WWE is where they are because they were able to penetrate the mainstream. They convinced people in the 80s that this is a mainstream product. They were all over TV. They were on cable daytime talk shows and nighttime talk shows and Arsenio Hall and all this stuff. WCW never was able to really do that. No other company has been able to saturate in mainstream crossover than WWE did. Do you want the easy short answer for Tony? He needs to create one guy that becomes a pop culture icon, and there you go.
Yeah. He had the one guy for a little bit until
he had CM Punk for a little bit.
He let the guy run roughshod a little bit too.
Well, the guy kind of went cuckoo. So
yeah.
Over there, that place made him as enraged as he was before. You have options. You have some really great guys. Is it going to be Kenny Omega? I don't think that's going to be Kenny Omega. Could it be Swerve? Maybe. Swerve could cross over into some. I don't know who that guy is or who that woman is. I don't know. But if you really look at patterns, there's only been one company that's been able to do that and stand the test of time, and that's WWE. And now they're the most well-oiled machine we've ever seen in sports. They're a production house on their own.
Yeah, it's crazy. My hope is that they sign the deal. Tony can stop all the hot-shotting that he's doing, because I think it's actively hurting the product instead of helping it. And he can create a great several-year plan of what he wants to do, because I feel like he's running a lot of the stuff into the ground right now, and it's just because he's trying to draw ratings. So this is the time for him to draw ratings. So I understand the intent. I'm just not sure it's working the way that he wants.
Listen, if I continue talking about this, people are gonna tell me like, oh, you got the Russoism in you, and you need a big jacked up guy. Yeah, but you know what?
You're so far away from Russo, by the way. You're so far away.
For all that is wrong with him, he does have a point. Same with Eric. You know, you could dislike a lot of the opinions, and quite frankly, I don't agree with Vince most 95% of the time. But you got to look at it as you are selling a mainstream product. You could be a wrestling show and do close to 1 million, maybe. Or you got to cross over. AEW's in a pickle because I don't want to watch a WWE product with AEW. I like the product that I'm watching very much. But yeah. I'm a 40-year-old man. I don't know how much longer I could do this. You know, tomorrow I could wake up and be like, this is stupid. I'm done with this.
You know, I think I should stop. I should stop watching wrestling when I turn 50 because I won't be important anymore. I'll be aged out of the demo. I just stop watching completely. I just be like, all right. I have to stop.
Yeah.
The demo's telling me. One quick thing before because we're going to talk about King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring, and Double or Nothing. Did you see Mark Shapiro's comments? I thought some of them were pretty interesting, including the WWE Drive to Survive like series that I would imagine that they would do. The NFL has their quarterback series, and I think they're doing wide receivers next. And I think the Red Sox are actually being covered this year. I don't know when that content is coming out. Hopefully soon.
Boo.
It'd be kind of cool to see. Yeah, agree. Not a giant Red Sox fan, but just the idea of what an inside the locker room kind of thing that Netflix could produce, because WWE is going to we'll have some for WWE as well. But the one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, we don't talk about the UFC much, but it's sort of related to everything, TKO and everything. He said, because the UFC rights are going to be up, and once basketball is done, once those rights get snapped up, the UFC is kind of the biggest one coming. And he mentioned the ESPN app, the over-the-top app that is coming out, which is going to be like their way for non-cable folks to be able to see everything that because currently on ESPN Plus, if you don't have cable, you have ESPN Plus, you cannot watch the linear ESPN channel. You have to have a cable subscription in order to do that. But with this new version of ESPN coming out, they're going to have to allow you to watch the linear stuff as well. Obviously, the price is going to have to be jacked up to $30 or whatever. But Shapiro said something to the effect of, if we could be part of the subscription, and by your $30 a month or whatever, you automatically get the UFC pay-per-views. That would be. You can also, because you have this relationship with Netflix now, you kind of play ESPN and Netflix against each other. Like, okay, what can you offer us for this product? And then if WBD doesn't get the NBA, they're probably going to be in. And so now you have like 3 companies bidding for the UFC. So that's going to be an interesting one for us to kind of keep an eye on down the line.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. What is their TV rights right now? What are they getting currently?
I forget what it is, because their pay-per-views are, ESPN basically paid for all of their pay-per-views. So they gave them the lump sum in that. So I don't even remember what it is, but he said, when we signed the deal, it was a very fair deal, but today we are under monetized. So he thinks that ESPN is getting the better of the deal right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if them giving away their pay-per-views, how much it would matter.
I think it's just the distribution. It's like the distribution of the content, right? Like they just did UFC 300, and let's say they did 1 million buys. Now, they didn't get any extra money on top of that 1 million buys because ESPN paid them a flat fee for it. So ESPN made all of the money off of UFC 300, not the UFC. So they want they see what WWE gets as far as eyeballs. I'm sure WrestleMania was a nice little wake up call for them in the sense of how many people actually watch that WrestleMania.
Yeah, because I think they saw that actual number, and it. I believe the estimate is anywhere from like 3 to 4.5 million people.
Yeah, totally.
So,
and that's that's, I don't know what the measurement is, but The Rock and not only do you, when you maybe you tune in for The Rock and you see Cody, or you tune in for The Rock and you see Gunther or something. So that's the benefit of it. And I would like to see the UFC have much more incentive to put on some of the bigger shows, because the incentive is missing today, because ESPN pays them a flat fee. So there's no reason to need to promote anything above what the normal number is. And so you're not seeing a lot of these big fights. When's the last time Conor McGregor has fought? It's been forever.
Was this the same? This was the same conversation where he brought up that he wants to WWE may possibly start looking for venue fees to be paid to them, or municipality fees for Raw and SmackDown. I think that's very realistic, but do you know with what kind of venues? I'll tell you right now.
Tell me.
College.
Think so?
I mean, you think Madison Square Garden is going to pay WWE to come into their building?
Not at all.
The other thing, you think Boston, the Garden?
Well, the other thing that I thought he was talking about, and I may have misheard this part, but the weeks that the two companies put on shows together, it also sounded like he was like, yeah, the only time we're ever going to do that, where you get WWE and UFC, is you have to pay us for that. We're not just going to bring it to your town. So I thought that was interesting. All right, let's talk some actual wrestling.
I'm curious. Are you? I think that's a great conversation. We could pick it up next week. Too.
Well, we'll table it because once this NBA thing is done, AEW on a smaller scale and the UFC rights are next. So we'll be talking about a lot of this stuff down the line. All right. Are you excited for a pay-per-view and a PLE this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I'm thrilled for 2 pay-per-views this weekend.
I tried to get you on Wrestling Observer Radio, but I don't think it worked out for your schedule for this weekend.
It didn't work out with my schedule. No, I actually, when I said no, I thought it was we were talking about this coming week for some reason. Mm-hmm. But I also have a commitment next Saturday and Sunday, so it would be a disaster.
Yeah, I wanted to hear the debut of Andrew Zarian hosting Wrestling Observer Radio. That was
Observer Radio. You know what? Maybe we could do that. Maybe I could jump in for you on a Friday when you recorded with Dave.
Yeah, I would love it. We just got to sell it to Dave. It's like, hey, we're bringing Andrew on.
I'm going to talk to him about all the nonsense questions I wrote in to the Observer when I was a teenager. Okay. Hey, Dave, is it true there's more than one Ultimate Warrior?
Did you ever actually get a letter published in the Observer?
No, I did. Oh, you know what? It's possible it happened. I wasn't getting them every week. Oh, but I had sent Dave so many questions, and he would respond. He would write back.
I have seen some Observers from the time when I first started to subscribe, and there are questions in there from me that actually did get answered that I have no recollection of why I even asked that question. It's so weird.
Do you have one example? That's great.
I forget. There was one that I saw recently. Now, there was one that I wrote in about Pepper Gomez, because that was my dad's favorite wrestler, and so I just had a question about Pepper Gomez when Pepper Gomez died, and so Dave posted that in the letters to the Observers. But yeah, there's random ones of whatever was going on in wrestling in 2002 or whatever. But so let's talk about these shows. WWE goes on Saturday. I'm not going to be able to watch that live because I think the Brian and Vinny Q&A that they're doing at the convention goes head to head with it, but I'm sure I'll watch it at some point over the weekend. What do you think about this tournament so far? Were you surprised to see Lyra beat Io last night? And well, I mean, I guess it telegraphs what the finals are going to be, but some of the twists and turns of this tournament, I was just like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen.
I liked it. I liked the tournament. I thought they did a really decent job with it. The matches were fine. They were all, I mean, for the most part, all good. Gunther and Jay. Gunther wins. And now it's Randy or Tama. It probably is going to be Randy and Gunther will beat him. And then it'll be, it looks like Nia may win this. Or Bianca may win this.
Are they going to do Bianca and Lyra babyface against babyface?
You could. Does it matter?
Maybe it probably doesn't, but
it's interesting. Look at the injuries we had, right? Xavier Woods, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Zelina Vega, and Asuka were all replaced in this.
Yep.
That's wild.
And then by replacing it, you have to also rebook it. So who knows what the original ideas were. Gunther and Randy Orton is an absolutely fantastic and kind of dream match for a certain fan.
I want that match. Garrett, I want that match to be so slow. Okay? like just a long headlock.
Yeah, he's got to go he's got to go like Gunther chops him. And then Randy's version of the chop is like, nope, now it's chinlock time.
Now it's a chinlock.
Chinlock.
See, we could do this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nobody will watch, but
that's how they would do. That's how they would do it at the house show, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know if I am necessarily looking that much forward to the WWE show because the booking in the WWE show in the big picture, Cody and Logan. I don't know why that match is happening. Like there was no real reason for it to happen. Just like Cody and AJ, I think it'll be fun, but there's no mystique to what is going on here. I guess,
Brock Lesnar couldn't do it, so you couldn't get Brock to do it, obviously, for obvious reasons. So you need. By the way, have you heard? And this is the attraction.
Have you heard any Brock rumors of late?
No, nothing.
There were some rumors going around. I think yesterday they were going around about SummerSlam, and so I would be very surprised to see him back that soon. But I would not be surprised to see him back at all, especially once this whole Vince McMahon thing is resolved. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Brock stuff was kind of coming back. And then again, when I watched the match with Jey Uso and Gunther's doing Kimuras and stuff, and I was like, I wonder if he's like doing a long tease for that Brock match to happen again. But maybe that's next year's WrestleMania or something.
I would hope that. I would hope so for sure. I think that'll be a great moment for Gunther. He will be that guy the next 10 years for sure in that company. He's going to be that big, strong guy that comes back, and he's if they build him right, he's a world champion. No question about it.
What else on that card are you looking forward to?
I'm intrigued by the main event with Cody and Logan Paul. That's going to be interesting. Chad Gable and Bronson Reed. That's going to be a good. Who's Chade? Does Liv win the title? That's another question. And outside of that,
I looked at the odds. Have you looked at the odds for the Liv?
No, what are
Becky?
they?
They're actually pretty close to the point of where you're like, some people think she's actually going to win this match.
It's possible. Becky was taking time off, remember?
Yeah, totally. But then why didn't Liv just win the Battle Royal?
Yeah, well, because sometimes they still forget how to make sense.
Or they
Vince
just
McMahon
thought that
brain they all have.
They just thought that they needed this match to be bigger than Liv versus somebody, I guess.
Yeah.
The Cody odds are very wide for him to win, so that's very predictable. But I didn't see any odds for the King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring because we don't know exactly who's going to be in those on Friday because we have the Friday SmackDown still. All right, let's talk about AEW's Double or Nothing. Where are you with the Elite as the main heels going up against Team AEW? It's just a weird thing to me because to me, the Elite are Team AEW.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I don't get it. That's wacky. Listen, you look at this card on paper, right? It's fantastic. It's a great card on paper.
Very good wrestling card for sure.
Okay, great wrestling card. I'm just Will Ospreay, Roderick Strong, Tony Storm, Serena Deeb. Okay, I'm sure it's going to be a great match that leads to something eventually. Adam Copeland, Malachi Black in this gimmick barbed wire steel cage match. You know what? I think they're going to have a crazy great match. Takeshita, John Moxley, it's going to be good. Trent Beretta, Orange Cassidy, it's going to be good. Chris Jericho versus, I guess, Hook again. I like what they've done with Chris. I think he's rehabbed his whole image again. And that just speaks volumes about how he reinvents himself every time.
Chris is crazy polarizing to that fan base. And
it's amazing to me.
So the last show where he's doing that match with Hook, which I thought pretty much sucked for most of it, but he's turning the crowd to real heat. And so I'm in the Discord with people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe he's actually creating real heat off of this learning tree character. And this was even before he called it the learning tree. And I had people in the Discord going like, nope, it's change the channel heat, change the channel heat, change channel heat. I've seen this before. It's X-Pac heat. It's X-Pac heat. And I was like, I don't think so. I think this is actually working. And so now we fast forward to this pay-per-view. And I think the majority of people would agree, even if they don't like it, that it actually did work for what they were trying to do. So I get a kick out of it when like the guy who everybody wants to cancel or who everybody thinks is cancelable, and he's old school and he doesn't understand things, and then he still is able to figure it out. Like that's why Jericho's an all-time Hall of Famer. But I'm with you. Like, and then it makes me wonder: is it because we're Jericho fans that we see it's working, or is it because we're a little bit older, where we kind of dig that kind of thing? I don't know. I don't
think
know
we're a little bit older.
Think about it.
No, I think we're a little bit older, and we've seen really old school traditional heel heat. Mm-hmm. And we know that. I don't think I'm not blinded by Chris Jericho. A lot of my favorite wrestlers, I could tell you, there are things that they do that I absolutely, absolutely hate. I have a very unpopular opinion that I hated Kenny Omega's world title run.
Yeah.
I thought his match quality was up there. Yeah, missed opportunity. You have this tremendous baby face to lead your company, to attract more people, and you turn him into Nick Bockwinkel or whatever he was doing. I hated it. I love Kenny. Like he's one of the greatest that I've ever seen wrestle. And I just didn't like the character. I'm able to separate that. I think Chris is doing what he can to survive as a 50-something-year-old guy. That's obviously his physical prime is not there, but man, he could still give you some tremendous value to the TV. He was their first world champion. They needed this guy. He was a very important piece to that puzzle and still is.
What would you do with Mercedes and Willow? Because I've been to every single Double or Nothing in Vegas. So let me say that before people get mad at me for deciding to come home early. My reasoning for coming home early is because this weekend is a Friday essentially through Monday, and which means that I'm out the entire 3-day weekend, which I turn into a 4-day weekend by taking Friday off. And that show, that Double or Nothing show, is so long that by Sunday night, I'm so exhausted. So I decided to come home, watch a pay-per-view with my friends, and then keep Monday open where I can hang out with my family. Yeah. So that is the decision for me as far as not going to the show. But like I said, I've been to every single one in Las Vegas. But the one thing I'm kind of bummed out about not going to see this show, it's not about Will Ospreay. I've seen Will Ospreay live. It's not about, Anarchy in the Arena. I've seen Anarchy in the Arena live. I am really, really interested in the reception and how the crowd reacts to Mercedes and Willow. That is the one where I'm like, man, I kind of wish I was going to be in the building for that one, just because Willow is so over as a babyface with this crowd. Mercedes is, they reacted poorly to her as a babyface. And we think Mercedes is going to win. So that's going to create a very interesting dynamic with the crowd. That's the one that I'm very intrigued as far as the live crowd is concerned.
Yeah, I am intrigued. I think they're going to get behind Mercedes for sure. These are people that are traveling to go to this show. They're going to be into this.
That's a good point.
I think she's a much better heel. Ooh, what happened? We just ended. Oh, there I am. I think she's a much better heel, and if she turns, then she'll get this unbelievable. That crowd is going to give you everything that they want, that you want with the response. I'm just more curious about the actual match. Are they going to be able to put on, there's a lot of pressure, especially on Willow, tremendous pressure, and on Mercedes to both make Mercedes look like $1 million. You've established that she is your flagship to that division, one of them at least. You have to make sure that she doesn't look like a fool. That first match has to be, maybe not an even or fair comparison, but those Bayley and Sasha matches in NXT and how over those two they only got over because of those matches. That was really the catalyst that they were great. Everybody knew how good they was, but it propelled them into this other level. That's what we need to do with this match. That's what Willow has to make sure happens, because it's only going to improve her stock in that company. And she's great.
We need
best
to
smile in wrestling.
We need to create the chase for her.
Yeah.
She is a babyface that the fans will get behind, and we need to create, this is not the Cody finish the story, but you need to create some hurdles for her as a babyface, and then the end boss being Mercedes, and they're tied 1-1, right? In matches.
Yeah.
And then the third match, whether that's at All In, that might be even too early because you kind of want Mercedes to have some length in her run. But whatever it is, the end goal point should be Mercedes and Willow in the third match, and Willow gets knighted as your champion, and I think that will be a tremendous just experience for that live crowd. But in order to do that, you got to take the belt off of her, and you got to create Mercedes as this like heel who's kind of ahead of her in many ways, and Willow has to be a great baby face to catch up and to actually get there for that third match. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope that the fans do not react poorly to Mercedes winning this, because it has to happen this way in order for Willow to overall get the big win.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Swerve and Christian. Where are you with Christian as the number one contender for the world title here?
I know it's going to be a good match, and I very much like Christian. I feel like he was off TV for too long to come in here for a world title shot, but it may be leading to something. There may be something that they're leading to here, right? Going to throw a hypothetical.
Okay.
You know what? The match of Big Schmaz happens here, right? Big Schmaz. I don't think this is the main event, right?
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
It's got to be Anarchy in the arena.
Yeah, what happens if MJF shows up to save Swerve and he just kicks him right in the balls? I almost feel like something else has to happen with this match, because A, it's not the main event, and 2, you brought Christian in to give him a good match, but where you got to tell a story here. I don't know what that story is. I've asked. I've been told stop fucking asking because we're not telling you. So that makes me sometimes feel like there's something bigger that may happen.
Yeah, MJF has done a great job of staying off the grid, huh?
Yeah, he's one of the best minds in heelism in professional wrestling. He unfollowed me. Can you believe that?
That's not cool, man.
He unfollowed me.
He wrestled for you back in the day.
He did. I called one of his first matches. I kept saying he is the future of wrestling. I mean, I'm sure the clips are somewhere. I knew it. I also made a boo-boo and I said David Starr was the future of wrestling. And he was very quickly canceled. And do you know who else was on that card? Oh man, I forgot his name. He got busted on something very naughty that was on his phone, something heinous. And this guy was going to become like an NXT guy. Like they were going to sign him, big nice size, Northeastern guy. Rude Boy Riley, that was his name.
Oh, okay.
And he got in trouble for some very serious stuff, and that was it for him. I have no idea what happened.
Not good.
I think Max coming back, he could do something good. I don't know. I don't know if this is the time or the next pay-per-view. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good show for him to come back at as a surprise. They need to create some hype out of this show. I do think. You don't have the Sting retirement thing, which was really like, talk about the goodness of wrestling, right? We got to see Sting retire on top, and that match was great. And now, what's coming out of Double or Nothing? What are we going to be excited about? What are the podcasters going to be talking about? What are the fans and the Discords and the Facebook groups going to be talking about? Something big should happen out of this show. Yeah. So if it is MJF, then I will give you credit for making that prediction. Because I think it would be big. I think it would be big. It would get the people talking, right?
Big. Yeah, they need to leave this on a very high note leading into the week. And then, after this pay-per-view, you have Forbidden Door, which is kind of non-canon to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you begin the build to All In.
Yep. All In and All Out, and yeah, it's going to be I'm really hoping
Full Gear.
I'm really hoping that they have some big stories that are going to really be unique and carry the television, because this Tony Khan versus the Young Bucks thing, I don't even really feel like it had a chance. Like, Tony has not been on TV. Like, we haven't even heard like what's going on. Like, are the Bucks still running the thing? Like, there's been like, it's just a lot of holes in the storytelling. And I think, one thing that maybe happens a little too much is when you don't have the full story being told, your fans kind of make it up and they give the reasons, and you and I are kind of unsure, like maybe that's the reason, but they didn't say it. And so I would like to see some further storytelling out of this pay-per-view too, about where they're going with Tony Khan versus the Elite. And like what are this, like, why aren't there any stakes in this match? What does Team AEW get for facing the Elite? Anything? Like,
and why is it these guys
come out of this match? Yeah.
Like, why like, where did Danielson didn't have a problem with them. Darby didn't either. I guess Darby does because he, with the Bucks, but Danielson was doing his own thing.
Yeah. That part of it just seems like a put together match without a lot of thought. And I don't like that in wrestling, especially for a pay-per-view, like especially for one of the big shows. Again, I've been to every single Double or Nothing. Had this card been better, maybe I would have taken another day off so I could hang out with my family.
Do you think it's Okada? Do you think it's Okada's like, listen, I want to do all your bullshit American matches. I want to get it all out of the way. I want to do this. I want to do your ladder match. I want to do a pole match. You know what?
Blood and guts.
That could be a gimmick on its own. Do a blood and guts. What else? Even like WWE, do a TLC match.
Oh,
he's just do all these American matches.
He wants to win MJF's ring. That's the next one.
Oh yeah, the ring match. He could do that ring match. He could. Oh, you know what? You could do a "you're fired" match, right? That's a very American thing. Or the hair services match of the manager.
A bald Okada have a hair match.
Oh, a hair versus hair match. I'm into that.
Yeah,
I'm into that. I don't know. These are always good. The Anarchy in the arenas. They're not bad. Like,
crazy, insane.
I don't love
insanity.
I don't love them, but they're fine. They serve a purpose. You burn through about 40 minutes of craziness, and then you get a couple great spots, and the match is over, and everybody's happy. But is that how you end the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I don't know.
What if this is where Max shows up, right, to save AEW?
After he called Tony Khan a mark on television, he's
not after he called him a mark, and he saves Tony Khan. Imagine he starts wheeling Tony to the ring with a neck brace on too. Just go all gimmick.
Or they're in the back, because that match breaks down, right? That match breaks down all over the arena, and all of a sudden the Bucks kind of have Tony Khan cornered, and Tony Khan kind of looks and he's like does the whole thing like, come here, come here, come here. And everyone wonders who it is. And it's MJF, and he just rips the shirt off like he's Hogan in '87.
Yeah.
And he's back.
Dude, I would love that. Look, I got goosebumps. You see this? Look, I got goosebumps. I'm like The Rock.
I'm totally down with that. All right. That's going to be it for from here. So hopefully everybody has a great weekend. Hopefully folks get that extra day as well to hang out. But yeah, so if you're in Vegas, come up, say hi, come chat. Hope to see you at the party, the sweet party on Saturday night. And Andrew and I will be back talking about more stuff. And you know what? My Fight Game podcast, I think we're going to do some live streams. We've sort of figured out the issues with going live there. So, maybe like once a month or so. So there'll be more content on this YouTube channel from podcast stuff. So, all right. For Andrew Zarian, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.